Welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily, the Friday edition. We made it, guys, to the end of the week, and only a couple more weeks until the start of college football. I'm Carmine here in Greenville, South Carolina. We have Julia Westerman in Columbia, the state capital, and Kevin Bilodeau along the coast in Charleston. And guys, we are talking college football, but it's not Gamecocks, it's not Clemson. Unfortunately, some tough news coming down for Michigan, and I'm going to read a little of this. Bear with me because of the legalese and the language. The NCAA imposing a significant fine on Michigan, over $20 million in fines stemming from the loss of postseason football revenue over the next 2 seasons. And this is part of those sanctions that this high-profile case into the investigation of sign stealing involving former Wolverine staff member Connor Stalions. Another penalty here, Sharon Moore has a 3-game suspension. That'll be 2 games self-imposed in addition to the first game of 2026. It's a little strange here because Moore's going to miss Michigan's Week 3 matchup against Central Michigan, Week 4, the Big Ten opener against Nebraska, but he will coach Week 2 against Oklahoma. And we have another interesting deal coming from Oklahoma as far as what fans can now pay for with access to the Sooners program. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Kevin, we can start with you here. What do you think about the punishments here for Michigan? $20 million, 3-game suspension for their head coach, and one of the biggest college football penalties we've seen in some years now.
Fine, $20 million, despite what any Michigan fan is going to say. It is a big fine for them to take, and I'm sure that a couple of donors are going to step up and take care of that pretty quickly. The big surprise is that it seems like everyone is admitting to the wrongdoing here. Michigan's admitting that they did something wrong. The NCAA is admitting that they found they did something wrong, and yet they're still letting Michigan keep the national championship from a couple of years ago. I'm sure that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers of the teams that Michigan played that season, but you know, there's definitely going to be an unofficial asterisk on that national championship going forward. But flags fly forever, Julia, and no matter, you know, if you're dressing up as a coach from another team and going to steal their signals, those flags are still going to fly.
You know, that's such a weird situation because, I mean, I don't know a lot of times in life where you can admit that you absolutely did something wrong. There's proof to show for it. The people going up against you say that you did something wrong, and then you don't lose out on, you know, a national championship crown. That seems a little odd to me. I almost wonder why they didn't do anything about that. I mean, they're doing so much in other areas. Obviously, we didn't mention as well that Jim Harbaugh and Connor Stalions have lengthy show cause penalties, which essentially means if they ever want to get hired by an NCAA institution again in the future, the institution will have to show cause for why they should be hired. I'm not sure that Jim Harbaugh ever has plans to work in the NCAA again. Of course, he kind of evacuated immediately to the NFL after all of this happened. But it just seems really bizarre to me that, you know, like you said, completely admitting to wrongdoing, but then nothing comes of that national championship trophy.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting point there because we've seen a lot of championships vacated in the past. Louisville comes to mind with Rick Pitino and the basketball program for their recruiting scandal that they had. And then you see also in college football like somebody like Reggie Bush, you know, accepting money for his family's housing, things like that, gifts while at USC, getting stripped of his Heisman Trophy. So, Kevin, I just want to go back to the national championship. It seems like in college football, though, there's an even bigger deal to like take a national championship in college football. Seems like just, you know, in the unspoken language, there's a bigger deal to be made to take that away than college basketball, or are you still surprised that it hasn't been stripped away?
I'm not surprised because it's like you said, I don't know what you would have to do to get one taken away in college football. One other point I wanted to make, though, is that the thing that probably surprised me the most is that there's no playoff penalty going forward. You know, Michigan could make the playoff this year. You know, and there's no penalty against that. You look at the Oklahoma State basketball team that got in trouble a couple of years ago for paying recruits. They got suspended from the NCAA playoffs for a couple of seasons. So that's probably what surprised me the most is that Michigan can still go to the playoff this year if they have a good enough season. I think I read that the NCAA said it wasn't fair to penalize the kids who are there now for discretions that were made before they got onto campus. But it seems like they've never had a problem with that in the past, whether it was at Louisville and taking that championship away, or Oklahoma State, or there's numerous other examples where they've suspended a team from going to the postseason because of the transgressions of a team that's no longer there.
Yeah, I thought that was weird as well. And the only thing I wanted to mention, looking at all of this, the outline of everything that they're getting infraction-wise, the only thing that mentions the postseason is it says a fine equivalent to the anticipated loss of all postseason competition revenue sharing associated with the 2025 and 2026 football season. So it seems like, they are obviously getting hit with a major financial loss, but it just seems like they're kind of skirting around anything else. And of course, I agree with that whole thing of any student athlete who is on this team now who is not a part of this does not deserve to be punished for it. But you look back on, the national championship, it's, whether everybody was privy to it or not, it's something that happened. So I think it's kind of bizarre that, there's such a big hit monetary wise, but then kind of not really anything else.
I think that's the biggest way you hit these schools, because we talked about taking that championship away from Louisville for basketball a few years ago, but everyone still remembers Louisville won that national championship, and it's not like they give that title to the team they beat in the national title game, and then now all of a sudden they're the national champs. So everyone remembers Louisville won that title. They could say they took it away, but it doesn't matter. That's still what we remember, and it's going to be the same if they had taken this away from Michigan. We'd still remember them winning that national title game. So I think the money-wise, I'd rather they just go and take the money if they're not going to do it that way.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about Harbaugh going to the NFL. Let's switch over to some NFL talk a little bit. Obviously, the Panthers underway. They played the Browns in their first preseason game. Now this week they're down in Houston, taking on the Texans this week. And I guess let me just pose this to you guys. After we saw kind of the first team get those couple of drives in there, what do you want to see from this team heading into this second game to, really measure their growth?
Yeah, I think we could definitely see Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. We're talking about this a little bit with me and Kevin yesterday, Julia, of who's going to get the upper hand, because clearly C.J. Stroud had a better rookie season. Bryce Young came on strong at the end of last season, the last 5 or so games, and looked like he's at least starting to come close to equaling C.J. Stroud or making a conversation for it. I want to see a little bit of better performance out of the defense, and I know that's somewhat difficult, but the Browns, scoring so many touchdowns against them. Shedeur Sanders looked like a veteran NFL quarterback against the Panthers. So better effort out of the defense. And then I want to see the explosive nature of the wide receivers on offense, and I would love to see Hunter Renfrow and Xavier Legette, our Clemson and Gamecocks guys, continue to get more involved, and see Tet McMillan, see if he can go up high and catch some passes, and see how dynamic that offense can be. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, I really want to see Bryce Young get into a rhythm. He's got to play more than 1 or 2 series in this game. I know typically the second and when there used to be 4 preseason games, the second and third were the ones you would see the starters from maybe more than a drive or 2, maybe a whole quarter, sometimes a whole half. I think you got to play Bryce Young at least a half in this game. I want to see him get into a rhythm, especially with those 4 wide receivers. I'd be fine if they just went out and ran the 2-minute drill every time, just so we could see him get the ball out to Thielen and Hunter Renfrow and Xavier Legette and the first-round pick they got from this year as well. I want to see what he can do with those 4 guys. Maybe, have the running back in there a little bit, have him, hand off just to keep the defense honest. But I really want to see Young get into a rhythm, Julia.
Yeah, and there's 2 schools of thought with this, because there's always the people that really don't want to see the first team in there because they don't want them to get hurt, but at the same time it's everybody who's a proponent of it because you want to see them get those reps before your first game, because I feel like even looking at last season with teams like the Panthers, like the Bengals, not really getting your people in the preseason and then getting to those slow starts that a lot of teams fall victim to. I'm definitely in the group where I want to see these guys get out there and play for a bit, because it only benefits them in the long run. Well, we've got a long run coming up. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. Guys, I want you to think about the coolest VIP experience you've ever had in your life. Think about how much you paid for it. Think about how worthwhile it was for you. And now let me pose you this. Oklahoma football this year is allowing fans, customers, to pay for VIP experiences, i.e., attending a post-game press conference, ranging anywhere between $461 to $692. That's the prices for just the first 3 home games. You go to this press conference, which, just picture this. We're there. Go to this press conference, you sit there and you watch it. You're not allowed to ask any questions. It's you and another guest. Is that something you would pay for? I just saw online someone said they're paying to watch reporters do their jobs. I'd love to have someone pay me $692 to watch me do my job. So what do we think, fellas?
Well, yeah, it's go ahead, Kevin, your thoughts on this, because you also have the high five tunnel, you have the being able to participate in the Walk of Champions, and you can even watch the Sooner Schooner and the horses being prepared for, I believe it's just a meager $550. So there might be some good value there, Kevin.
Look, schools are doing whatever they can to raise money right now because they got to pay these guys. And, there is obviously nothing off limits if you're going to be charging, what was that for the high five? $288 just to stand in line to get a high five with the guys as they go back into the locker room from warming up for the game. I mean, props to Oklahoma for coming up with these ideas. And I'm flabbergasted if anyone's going to actually pay $300 to sit. Can you imagine if you pay the $300 or the $688, whatever it is, to go and sit in the post-game press conference and Oklahoma loses the game? And you've got to sit there and watch Brent Venables be uncomfortable after just getting smoked on the field by Michigan or by someone else. I mean, it's unfathomable that someone would pay this and take that kind of chance to just sit there and watch Venables get crushed after this.
To me, this feels like the lemonade stand you convinced your parents to let you host when you really wanted a new game for your Nintendo DS or your Xbox or something like that. And you're like, I'm going to go raise this money so I can buy this cool thing that I don't need. That's what this feels like. I don't know. I just can't fathom watching myself ever purchase these things. I mean, they sound like cool experiences, but what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
I
can't get on board with this.
They do need the money, though.
If you have your money, you can spend it however you want, and if these are the opportunities that you have, then that's what you can do. But it does kind of seem like, at least with the lemonade, I used to do a lot of car washes growing up and lemonade stands, a young hustler, and you're offering a brand new experience. Like I like the parts of this that are a brand new experience, like the behind the scenes of the Sooner Schooner. It's very expensive, yes, but it's something that fans couldn't do before. If you're doing the high five deal, getting a high five, as you guys know, as kids, used to be based on effort, timing, and perseverance. And now what are these poor kids going to do who can't afford that? And mom and dad spent all the money to get to the Sooner game, and now you got to spend an extra $300 bucks to, now if I'm spending $300, I want the security guards to pick up these kids, move them out of the way, and allow me a red carpet, or in their case, a crimson carpet. Yes, Lion King them out of the way, say, sorry kid, maybe another time. When you get your lemonade stand, you raise $300, maybe you could be in this seat. And then escort me right to the primo spot, for $300. But Julia, we talked about this a little off camera. What do you think as far as the journalistic integrity of allowing, now it is a ticket for 2 to get into the press conference for $700 for the big game, but what do you think as far as like us doing our jobs? I mean, that's something, we're usually in every single game. And guess what? If 2 of us can get together and we can hawk these media passes in the future, maybe we'll think about it we split it $350 each. But your thoughts on the integrity there of journalists?
I think that's the part of it I have the most issue with. I mean, the Sooner Schooner, the high fives, I mean, why are we paying for high fives? But regardless, those things are innocent. Those are fun. And I understand that there's people who come in and out of press conferences all the time. We see people that we don't know come into these things, watch in the back, whatnot. But they usually have some sort of tie to, staff, any number of things. I don't like the idea that we're selling spots into a press conference that we work to be a part of. And I understand they're not getting to ask questions or anything like that, but I just don't, I can't really wrap my head around inviting that into your press conference space when you want to be taken seriously as a program.
Also, it's $145 just to get a message on not even the big screen at the stadium, but like the ribbon board that kind of goes all the way. $145 just to tell Grandma happy birthday. I mean, you get that for free at the River Dogs game. I don't know what we're doing here, but this did remind me of a story.
Dogs.
I think it was go River Dogs. I think it was my first year, or Steve Spurrier's first year at South Carolina. I was at a press conference for one of them, and right as the players were done talking and Spurrier was about to come in, and these four guys who were all dressed the same came kind of sneaking their way on the side door to come in and listen to the press conference. They were all dressed the same, and it was clear that they had had a couple of drinks throughout the course of the afternoon. And South Carolina won, so everyone was in a great mood, and they just slipped them right in. But the guys were sitting there just watching the whole press conference, and one of them got a little too excited during the press conference and raised his hand, and the kids walking around with the microphones, they don't know who's who, so they just walked up and gave this guy a microphone. And I believe he was some kind of a sponsor. They had some kind of weather app or something that South Carolina was using, and this guy started to ask Steve Spurrier this elaborate question about how his weather app helped him prepare for the game, and how the nice weather of the day that they had predicted helped South Carolina win the game. And you can guess how well that went over with Steve Spurrier as he's sitting there trying to go and get out of here for a game day.
I want this to be on video. I want to see this.
I got to go back and find this somewhere, but that's the kind of thing that we're taking a risk of having here, and I imagine Brent Venables would handle it just about as well as Steve Spurrier did, Carmine.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it seems like it would just take one thing to go wrong, like that Steve Spurrier moment, to maybe rethink having people pay to get into the press conference, because we saw that last season when the Penn State fan, you guys will remember, paid almost $2,000 to run out of the tunnel with USC in the USC-Penn State matchup, and he was wearing all the Penn State gear running out with the USC fans. So I think maybe we'll see a little bit of a regression back to, like, let's see every single experience we can offer. Okay, maybe not that one, maybe not that one. We'll keep the high fives, we'll keep the schooner, and
not
see how
every
we do
idea
next
is a good
season.
idea.
But no, but hey, it is a good idea to discuss Taylor Swift appearing on the New Heights podcast. We're talking about that a little bit more, and Kevin's excitement about it right after this. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily, and we're talking about one of the biggest moments in sports history, dare I say, Taylor Swift appearing on the New Heights podcast hosted by Travis and Jason Kelsey, the Super Bowl champions. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It got somewhat heated between Kevin and I. He's since doubled down on his Debbie Downing of this moment. And I think that our producer Nick, put me in the middle here to provide somewhat of a buffer between the not so supportive of this moment, Kevin, and the Swiftie, Julia Westerman. So, Julia, your thoughts on this moment, and just, I mean, already more than 10 million people saw it in the first day.
I'll make it brief. I thought this was really cool, because I've always been of the thought the entire time that this is really special. I mean, as a woman in sports myself, I've seen so many people gravitate towards football and towards, digesting this stuff that I love on an everyday basis, but now adding it to their lives. I think it's really special. I think it was fun to see her in a different light. I grew up a Chiefs fan, so I always entered this, realm from the Kelsey side, so I've learned a lot more about them and about her over the past 2 years through this relationship. I don't understand the haters. I mean, I can understand, not wanting to hear about it all the time, but at the same time, it's two people that love each other, that are excited to talk about each other's successes. She was comfortable enough to come on and do something that she has, mind you, never done before. And I thought it was really cool. And people can hate on it, but I thought it was fun on both sides of the ball, football and in the entertainment space. So, Kevin, what's good?
Julia, you need to calm down, first off. Nothing for that?
Yes.
Come on.
That's the energy that I want you to bring to this table.
Oh,
That
that's
was good.
That-
Come on.
What is? He's a closet
right.
Swiftie.
See?
He's a closet Swiftie.
I'm not at all. I've been on board the whole time.
Yes,
I don't have. No, we're not going to break, Nick. Stop it. I don't have 2 hours to listen to another podcast about this. I've got Boy Meets World podcast recaps and How I Met Your Mother recap shows to listen to. I don't have 2 hours to listen to Travis and Jason talk about Taylor Swift.
It was worthwhile, Kev.
Yes,
Dog.
we're back on this.
Come
I'm
on.
sorry. I didn't make the rundown. Yell at the producer. I don't know what you guys want me to do.
It was very insightful.
Kevin's live
and
audience.
13 million
Yes.
people watched it in 24 hours. That is global impact. And I love my two interests joining together. It's been a fun 2 years. We're going to break because I'm tired of the hate. Goodbye. Let's go. We got to touch on quickly the Irmo Little League team representing the Southeast region up in Williamsport. They came out with a bang, taking down the New England team on Thursday, 13-0. They remain in the winner's bracket and will take on the winner of the Northwest Mountain game on Monday at 3 p.m. Really exciting to see them get off to that good start. I was watching a bit of the game yesterday, and they dominated this thing. So really cool to see the local kids representing up there at the Little League World Series. We've got our own Greg Adeline from WIS going up to cover this incredible run. So guys, just got to send them some words of encouragement. Everybody in the state of South Carolina, the whole Southeast region is rooting for you, and we are excited to see you guys get it done up in Pennsylvania. So really exciting that this team gets to have this experience and that they're doing so well. All right, guys, we did enough today. I nagged on Kevin about Taylor Swift. It's been a good week. We'll see you guys next week.